Hey, it's Natasha.
And Khalil.
And we are the co-hosts of
WokeNFree.
Thank you for tuning in to our 79th episode of WokeNFree. If you've been tuning in every week for WokeNFree Wednesday, you know that WokeNFree is all about being real and honest with each other and you. We talk about everything and anything that's important to us, you, the world, and nothing is off the table. In this episode, we are talking all about how to decide where to live. But before we dive deep into the subject, a couple of questions to ask you. First, have you subscribed to WokeNFree on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or any of the other platforms we're on? If not, please go to WokeNFree.com and you can subscribe via email or to any of the platforms available that show our show proudly. Next, if you are interested in sharing the content that we put out every week for WokeNFree Wednesday, we would greatly appreciate for you to share this episode with friends and family. Guys, where we live matters. You'll find that out very shortly. So share the conversation. It should be a good convo. Next, if you haven't talked to us on social media and you're interested in hollering, debating, chatting, you can easily find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at WokeNFree. And then lastly, if you'd like to give us an in-depth review of the show, say on any of the platforms we're on, iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify, please go to WokeNFree.com and then you can pick your platform of choice to review the show.
Each week, we like to share a little bit about us before we dive into the topic for the episode. Last week, we shared, if you had a chance to end all wars at the cost of your life, would you take it? This week, we are sharing, what is your favorite quote for the month?
Yeah, so I love this question in honor of Women's History Month. I'm going to share a quote by a woman who greatly influenced me most of my life since I've heard of her, Maya Angelou. She has a quote that says, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. It's simple. It means you are not going to tolerate a lot of bull in your life, and you're going to have good expectations of what you want out of life from others and how you expect to be treated and how others need to treat you. So I love it. What's your favorite quote for the month?
Mine, just for this month, is reality exists in the human mind and nowhere else by George Orwell in his book 1984.
Super creepy. Nice.
But no, it's a good thing to keep in mind because people try to say like to think pragmatically and they only do things that will actually kind of things that make sense. But when we come back down to it, reality is just a human concept. It's just what our perceptions are. So it's not something that's absolute as people like to make it. Reality is not so absolute. So I just like to keep that in mind.
Absolutely, as discussed in a previous episode about time and stuff like that. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to WokeNFree.com and check out our previous episodes, and you will learn more about that concept for sure.
All right, we'll get into the episode. Does where you live matter?
Hells yeah. According to Psychology Today, there's actually a lot of really interesting information to share. So again, all research and links can be found in the episode on WokeNFree.com. For U.S. cities like San Fran and Seattle, where residents have greater intellectual and self-oriented dispositions, as shared by Psychology Today, they're more innovative, engaged by such indices as patents per capita and the presence of high-tech industries. Residents of these cities tended to vote for more liberal candidates, so there's a political affiliation. They were referring to Barack Obama when elected president in 2008. Then Psychology Today also talks about cities that have more colleges and universities. Cities with strengths of the head are also more crowded and have a higher cost of living. So these features converge to suggest that the culture of head cities entails individual achievement, affluence, education, and change. And then comparatively, in cities like El Paso and Omaha, where residents have greater emotional and interpersonal strengths, heart strengths, are less innovative.
Wow.
As stated by Psychology Today.
Sorry, El Paso.
Are more likely to vote for a more conservative candidates. Again, the political tie there. They were mentioning former John McCain And then they go on to say heart cities are smaller and less crowded. They have a lower cost of living and their temperatures are warmer, perhaps allowing residents to go outside and interact with their neighbors. These cities are more likely to be populated by families and with children. Their residents report more positive emotions and a greater sense of meaning. These features suggest that the culture of heart cities centers on other people and the emotional ties that bind people together. Heart cities are kinder and gentler because they afford greater opportunity for close relationships and perhaps are more pleasurable and more meaningful lives. Ultimately, it shares more and more and more, but I think the gist is where you live does matter, and cities are distinguishable by either educational advantages, work opportunities, the personal development and or family ties. So it matters, and it's actually, like, I think even more measurable than people probably think it is.
Well, yeah, they think you could just go anywhere and you'll just fit right in. But it seems like depending where you go, you might not fit in with the crowd.
Yep.
I found this article on Wallet Hub where they actually did like a study on the happiest states in the U.S. And one thing they stated in the article before going on into the study is that happiness only increases with wealth up to an annual income of $75,000.
That makes sense, yeah.
But one thing that can have a big influence on how we feel about life is where we choose to live. And they performed this analysis, like I was saying, of all the states, and I thought it was interesting is that they found Hawaii actually as the happiest state and West Virginia as the least happy state. And they did that using 3 key dimensions that they were used for measuring, and that was emotional and physical well-being. 2 was work environment, and 3 is community and environment. So using those statistics, they put that together and created this list of and ordered the states of among happiest to least happy, and Hawaii came out on top. And I think it's funny because a lot of people do talk about traveling to Hawaii as like a big thing they want to do.
It's beautiful.
Apparently it's the happiest state. So that kind of makes sense.
Obama
people want to go
has
there.
Hawaiian ties, right? So yes.
And
he's
sense,
a very laid back person, as according to Michelle Obama in Becoming.
Laid back. Well, that makes sense in the happy state.
Well, yeah, why stress when, be happy? Isn't that song? Don't you love that song?
It's Don't Worry.
Isn't that Hawaiian?
Be happy.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Hawaiian.
Oh, but
I thought it was Caribbean.
Maybe. I don't know. But you love that song.
Not more than my wife, but close. My wife really goes in on it.
Why do people decide on where they want to live?
I think the very first reason is just because they were born there.
Yep.
There's no place like home because that's all you know. It's something that's consistent. So people just choose to stay in their town and they never move out because that's all they know. It's like they grew up on a small farm. Where else can I go? I can go to a big city.
In a big city.
But I know, or they grew up in a big city. They said, how could I go move out to the country
else,
and there's nobody else there? I don't know. I don't understand how to live there. But the other thing I think that influences it is friends and family. Because the familia, they'll tell you certain things they'll try to scare you, maybe say, whoa, do you really want to go to that big city? Or do you want to go live out in the boonies where nobody can find you?
Exactly.
So that definitely influences where people live. And then I think the last is just for media, because you'll see a movie, and movies always portrayed certain places as these like hot spots, especially like New York City. That's one of like the top locations for movies. They always have that. So people associate the state of New York with New York City. They're like, oh, I'm going to New York. But do you realize New York's a big place? It's not actually
Albany.
It's
Buffalo.
not all just the city. It's not all just made up of
parts.
boroughs. There's like tons of parts and they're different. They're not even the same. They're a lot different. There's different types of communities within New York.
Yes.
But I think that's funny that people use media as definitely a pointer on where they should live.
Good point. Absolutely. According to Centre for Cities, they have a lot of different factors. They say the cost of housing was the most commonly selected reason for why residents chose to live in their neighborhood. And again, this I think would be polling people who are in a position in their lives to decide where they're living, not necessarily like you're saying, like between the ages of 0 to 18, you're like a captive audience for wherever you are nurtured or grown. But like beyond that, when you're actually in a position to decide where you want to live, Definitely housing costs come into big
true.
play. Living too far away from family and friends was a major concern for people on this poll that the website refers to. Also, priorities such as, like, there are different priorities for different age groups. So, like, if you're in the 25 to 34 age group, then kind of workplace reasons is going to dominate your decision. Like, where can you find more jobs and opportunities? If you are from age 35 and onward, being close to the workplace is less likely to be a main reason. That you're really more looking towards, like, safety and security of the neighborhood and, you know, family reasons. And then if you're like 55 and over, then it's more like a retirement conversation, and it's more like we're likely to have no children, or, you know, more greenery and countryside and like the chill life, right? So the article
the
essentially
change as you age.
It does, because
right?
you have different priorities and you're in a different stage of your life. So that didn't really surprise me. That made sense, absolutely, actually.
The greenery didn't surprise you?
No. When you're 55 and older, don't you want to kind of be near somewhere where you can, like, golf and, like, swim and do yoga? I mean, 25-year-olds are doing that and loving it, but that just depends on where they live, right? But if you could do that every day. Green. I mean, I like it to a certain extent. If it comes with the bugs and all that, I'm not taking it. Yeah, so, you know.
You got to share that greenery with all the creatures.
The insects, yeah. I'm not really about that life, but, you know.
How do you know when it's time to move on, then?
Woo! So there are actually like 15 signs, according to
15?
Unpack.com. Absolutely. So first is, and I'm not going to mention all of them, but just some to discuss. You just can't afford staying where you are. Hello, New York. There are certain states like New York that are trifling, and they are really making it very difficult for people to live because the costs are astronomical, to say the least. Also, FOMO is a phrase that they shared. Never moved anywhere before, and this nagging voice inside of you is constantly wondering what you're missing. So you just kind of, you know, go on a risk and say, listen, I've only lived here, so I'm going to go live somewhere else.
Does that mean anything, FOMO?
I mean, I know
Full of motivation overhead.
I know, they just wrote FOMO and then they wrote that. Well, yeah, it's very interesting. Next, an inner calling. So if you feel like you're just meant to be somewhere else, which I think is similar to the FOMO conversation.
Yeah, it seems similar.
Also, letting your dreams point the way. So we just watched, I think, Shark Tank, where a woman said she had a dream where she was in Turkey and she was starting a business.
She had to go to Turkey.
And then, yeah. So, and I don't think she moved there.
No,
but
she went there
are
for a couple
some people who maybe have a dream and see themselves in Wichita, you know, or Wisconsin, or you know,
or the Isle of Man.
Yeah, you know, somewhere like I have to go move to Hawaii, right? In their dream, and then they actually do it, which God bless them. I think that's fearless living at its best, probably. Also, weather worries, which is actually, I think, a concern for many states, especially here in the U.S., because we're having such weird weather patterns, like in multiple different regions of the country. So I'm not sure if there's any one safe place to go, but, you know, I think that's a reason that motivates people to move. Then these last reasons really got my giggle going, which is too many bad memories, too many good memories. And then,
that's too good.
Well, like so maybe you loved someone and then they died, right? And then everywhere you look, you see, oh, we went to the restaurant, we did this, we did. It's just too many good reasons, right? And you're just like, ugh, I can't, which is kind of sad. And then no reason to stay, which I was like,
that's funny. Nothing's tying you to the place.
Oh, good Lord. Hello, New York. But if you're interested in seeing all 15 reasons, you can definitely click on the link on the episode on WokeNFree.com.
Yeah, I mean, those are good reasons. I also think just when I don't know if maybe you mentioned it, but when you're just tired of your surroundings, change of scenery, I think that could be a reasoning. You don't find your community as engaging, I guess, would be another reason.
Definitely.
I think that definitely happens.
And major cities are kind of really nasty cultural dispositions. Yes, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
we
Some
can only
places can
speak from the New York perspective, and
Yeah,
it's
some
not
places can be
super
bad.
friendly here. So
Yeah, some neighborhoods can be really unfriendly.
some are
so.
friendlier than
They are,
others,
yeah. There's
but
pockets of it, but you can't say as a whole every neighborhood
yeah. I
is
love when
friendly.
I speak to people who live on like the North Shore of Long Island, which if you guys don't know, that's like the richer part of Long Island, and they're like, my neighbors are lovely. Everyone's really lovely, and I'm just like, yeah, it is lovely to have money. Like it's quite lovely. Yeah.
Cash money. That's what we call cash money.
Living your best life out there.
Well, what do you think are the best places to live in the U.S. at least?
So when I thought about it, I was like, I don't actually have a clue because I just, again, I've spent most of my life in New York, short of us going to Penn State, in Pennsylvania, and then my little bit of travels, I in my mind wouldn't know, but when I did some research on CNBC, the top 10 places to live according to like last year's list of 2018 is as follows: Austin, Texas, which surprised me.
That surprised you? I mean,
Austin, Texas specifically.
Oh, okay, yeah. Austin, yeah.
Because I hear a lot about Houston, but Austin was like, but I've heard really good things about Austin as well. So
I heard there's opportunities.
Yeah, and then the next didn't surprise me. Colorado Springs, Colorado. I heard great things about Colorado.
That did?
Yeah, and then Denver, Colorado. Well, you know, everyone can smoke weed, so of course people are happy to live there.
Oh, that's where it was first legalized?
I don't know if it was first, but I know it's legal there. But Des Moines, Iowa, Fayetteville in Arkansas. That surprised me. Portland, Oregon.
Arkansas.
Huntsville, Alabama. Surprise.
That's definitely surprising.
Washington, D.C. I was like, I thought there's a bunch of single black women out there. Okay. Minneapolis,
That's why it's a top place to live.
I can't. Minneapolis, Minnesota. I was like, really?
Minneapolis, but some people love it there.
I know.
Anybody from there, they're always happy.
They rep it hard. But then Seattle, Washington, that made sense to me.
In Seattle, people, I've met, I've only met a few
But this
people
is just
there,
CNBC, and I've also found other lists like online where I even saw like New York on a list, and I was like, y'all are liars. You know, people are not happy here. Stop it.
Well, they're saying best place to live, but it's what are
their factors and standards?
How are they measuring?
And there are different lists. There's some lists that say these top 20 places. You know, there's other lists that like are top 30, and like places like Arizona's on there. So it depends on who's your source.
Because that's not even talking about are people happy there or not.
No, this is just like the best place to live. Yeah.
I think like as a general thing, like best maybe, because you might not even like that type of city. It might be too big for you. Might be too small.
True.
I mean, that's why that's
a lot of factors to consider.
But see, they didn't even mention Hawaii, like found on my list. That's funny.
There are different lists. It's different writers.
Yeah, anybody can put anything they want, basically.
We can have the WokeNFree list of where to live, and we could just be really funny and put all the expensive cities and be like, oh.
I know, Matt. Yeah, you can put places that are out of reach too. Like if you don't earn enough, you can't even be there.
San Fran and like, sure, okay, guys.
What do you think are the key factors to consider when deciding where to live?
So again, I had some thoughts on it, but wanted to get some more information. So according to moneycrashers.com, some of the factors to include, and again, you'll find all the links in the episode on WokeNFree.com. Affordability with a number one bullet, right? You can be happy if you can try to like have heat and food and a place to stay. Affordability is key. You know, there's like massive homelessness taking place in our country. So, you know, that didn't surprise me. Taxes. That's a big one for people. Why? Because, there are 5 states that don't have sales tax, according to moneycrashers.com, which include Alaska, Delaware, Montana, New Hampshire, and Oregon. Then in addition, there's Alaska, Florida, Nevada, New Hampshire, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Washington, and Wyoming that don't collect individual income tax, according to moneycrashers.com.
Didn't know that.
If you want more specification on that, definitely speak to your tax person, accountant, CPA. Definitely not within our purview. Next, another reason would be employment opportunities. That makes sense, right? Everybody wants to make that money somewhere. Real estate value, which makes sense, right? If you're going to buy and put down roots, do you want to do that in a place where you know your property is going to really go up in value? Crime rates and statistics, I thought that was interesting because it's like crime takes place everywhere. But you could try to live in safer cities.
To worse neighborhoods like that have more like violent crimes, I guess. True. You try to go away from that.
Proximity to friends and family, definitely not something I would think about.
Oh, no.
I'm living where I want to live. If you happen to be related to me and near me, for you. But definitely not a deciding factor for me. Climate, yes, that with a very important factor for
I wonder,
someone
though,
like
for that
myself.
last one, the proximity, I think that's going to get less and less just because
Exactly.
of social media.
Yeah, just
do you really
live
need that?
stream or use the Facebook portal thing.
Because you don't, that's the
just-
thing. I mean, how
it's not
often
that
do we need
serious.
to hang out when you just
Well, you know,
hang out virtually?
the irony of this
can
all
do it all
is people say,
virtually.
oh, I can't be without my family. And then when you account how many times you see your family, if you're only seeing your family once a month or once every quarter, then technically you don't need to live near them.
But what if you see them every Sunday for family
Yeah,
dinner?
so if you do that whole soul food situation, then sure, it makes sense to not have to drive 3 hours to have Sunday dinner, because that would be
But can't you still do
hella
that
annoying.
virtually, though? You could have, like, a video tablet up, and then they can pretend they're eating the
Listen,
food with you.
I'm very, very dedicated
They can still have the chats, too.
creating content and working. So, like, that's why I said for me, that's not an issue, but maybe for somebody else who wants to see their family.
You'll see when you get the Sunday dinners with the family.
Educational system matters to some people, right? Because they don't want their children to go to schools that, you know, maybe are not in line with the values that they have in their household. And then lastly, also culture is another reason, meaning, you know, what's the flavor of the ice cream there, right? Like what kind of culture can they tap into? Is
Wow,
it
the
offer
culture, yeah.
museum,
I guess that's
art,
like
music,
community.
right? Yeah, like what kind of culture is it of the place?
That includes retail and just, like, neighbors,
I
though,
would
or-
imagine, yeah, the whole vibe, right? Like certain cities have certain vibes that like really work. Like if you're a really liberal person, then you don't want to go to probably a really red, you know, middle state country.
Oh,
state
so you're
of the
including
country.
politics then, too, in the
Yeah,
culture
but I
thing.
mean that's culture
Wow.
too, because political events are events, right? And also it affects the types of events that take place, because we are in a very tribal type of culture, politically speaking. So, you know, if you don't like politics, you know, then you might not like a major city where there's going to be a lot of political action taking place, right? You might want the suburbs and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
What about geography? Like, if you go to San Francisco and they have those crazy hills you got to drive up and down.
If you like that, that's a part of kind of the vibe of the city, about the amenities, about I guess that's, what is that? Topography, or
Geography?
is it geography or topography?
You can could be in both, I guess.
I guess, yeah.
'Cause
That could be a
geography
reason
does
as
with
well, yeah.
location.
Mm-hmm.
You are now listening to WokeNFree,
WokeNFree.
WokeNFree.
a podcast about being real and honest.
What would you not consider? Like, what are things not to do or think about when deciding where you want to live?
I think the number one is to base it off of other people's opinions and what they thought of a place that they visited that you haven't visited. So I think you need to do your own detective work, because
Yeah.
people will go places and they say, "Oh yeah, I went and everybody was rude to me." But it's like, when did you go? What like what were your intentions when you were there? Where exactly did you stay? You know, there's
True.
like certain
Factors,
facts
yeah.
that could say this is why people treated you. You know, that's a
That
certain way
way,
while
yeah.
you were there. That it's not like you go there and you're gonna have the exact same experience as somebody else. So I say just be wary when you have one person's opinion on of what a place is and what it's about and why you shouldn't go there. Because I know people do that a lot. They'll say, "Oh, don't go there." You know, you never would want to live there. It's like terrible. But it's just this one person's opinion that you can't use
True that.
as the sole like decision of you going somewhere. So
Yeah.
make sure to do your own detective work when deciding where to live. Don't base it off of what other people said. Don't use hearsay as your way to get there.
Or at least just one person's hearsay, right? At least try to garner many people's perspectives.
And different
'cause,
backgrounds.
yeah, if you
of
go
people.
to, and yes, different backgrounds. And if you go to multiple different forums and people are like, this is a CMOS, then maybe it's a like, you know, but if it's
Wow.
like one person who just doesn't want you to move, then yeah, like F them. Like that's not
They have
appropriate.
ulterior motives. So
Yeah,
that's why they're
clearly.
telling you bad stuff.
Clearly. Well, you know, it's funny, like, we love Vegas, and I've heard from a couple of people who don't like it, who actually
Yeah.
vehemently hate it, and I'm just like, wow, that's so interesting.
It makes sense if you don't
But-
into that like all out in your face kind of place where
Oh, well, yeah, I'm
Things
all
are
about
flamboyant
I'm all
there.
about like being out of control, being not like actively for myself, but witnessing it, yes.
yeah,
And
people
then,
just acting wild and a fool.
Yeah, because it's like college life never ends there. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And then also the burning, sizzling heat phenomenal. Let's be a raisin today.
It was
Phenomenal.
so cool there when I went.
I know, that's such a shame. Such a shame.
You thought it was heat, but
I
not all year.
literally was dying. It was amazing, but it was harsh. It was real.
Wow.
Well, you shouldn't do outdoor activities in 104-degree weather. That's really the lesson learned for that day.
Yeah.
But
Try not to do that. That's a pro tip.
yes, and exactly. For my thoughts, I would say, again, basing the decision on family and friends alone is not
Exactly.
a good enough thing to do, because people who love you sometimes will be a bit selfish, right? And are like, don't leave. It's like that scene from that like the blooper we did. Did we do that one? Or no, we did we didn't do that
You
blooper.
said that.
We did
We
the
didn't do
other
that.
blooper,
Yeah,
yeah.
we didn't do
But
that
there was a
one.
scene, guys, in My Big Fat Greek Wedding where the daughter comes to the father and is like, I want to learn computers, Papa. I think it'll be good for the restaurant. And he looks at her and he says, why do you want to leave me? Why don't you love me? And it's just
Yeah.
such an amazing scene, because it's like literally she wants to get education and he's freaking out, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's actually not, because I'm sure someone has actually dealt with that in their life, which is horrifying.
That's crazy, though.
But
Let's pull it together, people.
yeah, let's get it together. So if you haven't seen that scene, please do. It's amazing. And then also, work alone, I don't think is a good enough reason to decide like solely where you're going to live, because the thing is, we're more than just our jobs and our careers. And so sometimes I think people take jobs because, that's great money and it's a great work environment, but then they hate the town that they're living in. So at bare minimum, even if you're moving to a town that's not in line with your desires for where you want to live, try to get a dope house, right? Like, try to make sure that no matter where you're living, you enjoy the immediacy of where you're living, because that will provide creature comforts that even if the city alone can't provide, maybe you have a dope room and it's awesome.
But
right?
you recommend not moving for a job opportunity, then? That's what you're saying?
No, I'm saying don't choose the work alone. Like, don't just say I'm moving halfway across the country for a job opportunity if there's nothing else in that town that you like, because what if the job doesn't work out? Then you're stuck in that city, and then
You have to at least make sure there's
it has
other
to be
reason
one
there.
or two or three. It can't just be the sole reason, because you can't guarantee that job is going to be the job that you do for the next 30 years, as most people do not do a job for 30 years. So, there's just that. And then lastly, fear. I think deciding to not move out of fear or moving solely on fear of something is problematic. Any decision solely based on fear, I think, is unlikely to yield a positive outcome. So that's my thoughts.
Definitely don't choose fear as a reason to move. That's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta think
I
about
mean,
it.
there are some people who have to do the secret, like the change identity situation, because they were like, the mob was coming after them or whatever.
Well, yeah, if the government gives you a new identity and you're in WIC protection, then
I mean, I think that's like an exception of fear decision, but
I mean, that's not. But that's kind of like it's mandated. when
yeah,
the
it's not even
government
your decision.
does
then.
that, so that's a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go, yo. Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario? It's scenario time. Scenario 1. Filbert was born in the desert and was born with an unnatural talent for finding water. So much so that the townspeople rely on him for finding land to actually farm on. He still longs for the day he can build a snowman because Sandman just doesn't cut it. When you want to have fun, should he move to a colder climate, or is it better not to desert his desert town?
There's so many things that are wrong with that example, Khalil. I mean, Filbert, first of all. Filbert. Is this based off of Dilbert?
No.
I mean,
this
is really a
when
problematic.
you're born in the desert, you get a really
and
interesting
then
name.
an unnatural talent for finding. Does he have gills? I mean, what are we?
He could sense the relative humidity
He
in the
can
air.
lick his finger and find where the water is.
He feels the relative humidity increasing when
He's
he walks
water
in directions.
Columbus. That's what he is.
I think it's the hair on his skin. It actually picks up, and like how your hair on the end of your skin can stand up sometimes. He gets those like sixth sense feelings.
No entiende.
It's like his spidey senses are tingling. It's like that. He gets that sometimes.
Phenomenal.
It's Filbert. You know Filbert's a special person. Not everybody's named Filbert.
I think you're a special person.
I'm not named Filbert.
Indeed.
You know that name is cool though. It's pretty cool.
I think of Dilbert.
No, not Dilbert. It's pretty. It's swaglicious.
I can't. And then the Sandman reference, I can't with you right now. I absolutely can't. But to answer your really interesting scenario, I would say ultimately it's going to come down to, if he doesn't move to a colder climate, will he resent the town, and will he resent that decision to not go to somewhere colder where he can have a bit more fun in the colder temperatures, if that's something he really wants. And so I personally would think, if you live your life for the wishes of others, that you eventually begin to resent those others. So I think he probably should just move, and they're going to have to find another way, hire some type of cockatoo bird who can find their water and keep it moving, hire, singing pigeons, whatever. And they'll have
singing pigeons?
Yeah, they're going to have to figure it out.
That'll be helpful.
Exactly.
All right. Wow. All right.
Oh, I tickled myself so much.
Yeah, that's great for you to say that. You're making up new things now. That
singing pigeons.
Okay.
Just like on America's Got Talent.
We're not talking about canaries here.
No, specifically singing pigeons.
And blue jays. You're talking about pigeons. Okay.
Sí, señor.
I'm pretty sure they don't have the voice for it.
¿Cuál es tu answer?
My answer is he should desert his desert town.
And find better ways to live in colder climate then.
Well, he wants to go and make a snowman, so yeah, go to Alaska or something.
God bless Phil.
Go to Antarctica.
Yep, God
Even though he's born in the desert, I don't know if he'll survive, but it's better he just try it and see what happens.
Agreed, yeah.
If he lives, he lives. I don't know. Scenario 2. Renavalona lives in a small Midwestern town in the U.S. She dreams of being a successful actress and feels her small town will never help her fulfill her dreams. Should she move to LA to become a star, or should she try to build a YouTube following to validate her dream?
Star?
Yeah, a star, I tell you. That comes from somewhere.
Star.
No, so that comes from somewhere. That's how the Hollywood people say
like
it.
that in Boston.
No, in Hollywood. I think that's a Hollywood thing. One of the directors said,
how you said
"You'll be a star, darling, a
like
star."
You were speaking like you were in that movie where Ben Affleck held up the people in the bank.
No, definitely not. They talk differently.
But okay.
Boston people talk different.
Again, it's all a matter of what do you think you can deal with by giving up on your dreams? Do you feel like you're giving up on the life that you want and deserve for yourself? So, is it going to be a culture shock? Definitely, because Midwestern towns are different than LA. LA is a specific type of beast that one needs to deal with, but you never know until you try. And I think that at the end of the day, it's better to try and fail than not try at all. So I say, I'm not saying her name. I'm going to say Boo should go to LA.
Yeah, I'm going to say R at least.
I could say something else, but you'll crack up.
No, don't say that. No, we'll continue. I actually think in this day and age, she should try the YouTube following first to get some validation. That's what I think. Or even like apply to those, those like TV shows where you're like I guess you're a guest on one of those gaming shows or something. She should apply for something like that and try to act on one of those.
Okay.
And then if she gets on that, then she can see it. Does she really like being like in front of the camera and stuff? Because has she done any? We don't know this, but has she done any of that? Has she actually been in front of the camera? Has she tried to film her own little short? I mean, I just say try, because you have the tools to do it now for cheap. Before you go out to the big place of LA you don't know, just try it on your own first, see how it goes.
I mean, it depends. I think there's also advice that I've heard about, don't dream too small, right? And there are people like Arnold Schwarzenegger who, he was sharing that so many people told him he could never be a Hollywood star, that he could never do bodybuilding, and look how far and that he's come and all that he's accomplished. So I just think that, at the end of the day, it depends on what she's willing to risk by moving. And sometimes, and a lot of those actresses and actors that we love, they literally moved to LA and they were hustling and waiting tables, and they didn't know if they were ever going to make it to the screen. But if they never tried, they would never be an opportunity. You have to try to have success. So we'll see.
Or you could do it the Justin Bieber way and just be a YouTube star, and then
you could
grow from that.
But again, YouTube's a different beast than it used to be, right? It was a lot easier to get in front of a lot of different people. Now there's a lot of people with a lot of different followers. So
yeah, now you're competing against the world, basically.
It's a challenge. It's a different world we're living in. So, LA is not as scary of a beast as it once was too, because a lot of people are going out there and finding a way to do it.
Scenario 3. Oslo is a famous IG star who just became the youngest self-made billionaire in the world based off his makeup products. He has been receiving backlash from people in town over whether he really is self-made. Should he leave his town to avoid the onslaught of negativity, or are haters gonna hate?
Hello, Kylie Jenner.
Why would you say that? This is Oslo we're talking about.
No, expect
Oslo
that.
is from a small Norwegian country.
And Kylie's from California, Calabasas, I believe.
Come on now. We're talking about Oslo, though. This is a scenario based
Actually, I
off
don't know
of
if
Oslo.
she's from Calabasas. I know her sisters are from Calabasas, or they lived in Calabasas. But,
Whenever I hear that, I think of it's like a small town in Arkansas.
Calabasas?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's California. It sounds like somewhere
It
else.
sounds rich, Kelly. It sounds somewhere fabulous.
It doesn't sound like that to me. Like LA sounds like somewhere crazy. Beverly Hills,
Yeah.
Hollywood,
No,
like
no,
all those have the name. Those names they like kind of suit the place. But
Calabasas is
I don't know.
different.
When I first heard Calabasas, I'm like, where is that? That's like Arkansas. I don't know, but it's California. That's an interesting name.
Yes. Again, I think that when it comes to life, we are too concerned about what others are thinking of us. At the end of the day, if Oslo is doing his thing and he's making money, he shouldn't give a damn about what people in his town are saying or hitting on him about, because at the end of the day, it's just jealousy and envy, because if they could switch spots with him in a minute, they would. So they talking smack. He needs to go and live his best life, making more money with his makeup, just like Kylie Jenner.
That's weird how they parallel each other.
Oh, it is
like
weird.
The lines,
yeah.
how that even comes up. Like, how can like this story even exist?
Oh.
A scenario like this, where would this come from? What type of mind?
Facebook.com, yeah. It's a good website.
It's just, that's interesting how these ideas just come about. I don't know. It's like from the ether, things are pulled.
The ether of crap.
They just evolve into this thing. I don't know where it comes from.
Answer.
My answer is, should he actually leave the town? Well, nah, you know what? He should just stay where he's at, because haters gonna hate. That's what I say.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, I don't think he should leave, because you're
agree.
trying to run away from the problems. You need to deal with it. And
The hate is everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it could follow you, and it was like, good
Sure.
job, you moved, and now it's actually a worse
Different
situation.
haters, yeah.
Because this is almost that thing you said, not to move out of fear, right?
Yeah,
This is basically moving based off of fear.
You shouldn't move out
You're
of
trying
fear.
to, you fear like being hated on by these people, and you think you can get away for it and escape your actual things you're scared of, but nope, don't do that. It's not gonna work. So he needs to stay there and actually deal with it head on. Maybe address the haters.
Yeah, he should make a makeup line for the haters and really make even more money, because how cool would that be? And he could make fun of, it could be interesting actually. So live your life, make your money. Congratulations, Kylie Jenner.
Not Oslo.
Both.
Okay.
We are at time again. It is the coming of the end of our 79th episode of Woke and Free. Good Lord.
Pretty good.
This was quite the episode, talking about how to decide where to live. Will I leave you hanging for what our next episode will be about? Drum roll, please.
On our next episode, we will be discussing what does it take to reinvent yourself with special guest Carolyn Herfurth. Make sure you follow us on social media to follow along in the conversation, and make sure you tune in next week for Woke and Free Wednesday to join the conversation at WokeNFree.com.
If you want to be a guest on the show, please submit a topic for an upcoming episode or share how you feel on our Contact Us page at WokeNFree.com. That is WokeNFree.com. If you'd like to holler at us on social media, give us some tips, breaking news, feel free to hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or even YouTube at Woke and Free. And if you'd like to be a sponsor for upcoming episodes or want to collaborate on an event that you would like hosting at ... feel free to hit us up again on our Contact Us page at WokeNFree.com. And also, if you want to leave us a voicemail, and you never know, it might make its way into our episode, you can also leave us a voicemail on our contact page.
If you didn't already subscribe, please do, share the episode, and make sure you come back to join the conversation every Wednesday for Woke and Free Wednesdays. Remember, Woke and Free is more than a podcast, it is a way of life. Until next time.